Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Filmmaker Follies. And it's been a while. I don't really have a schedule for this specifically. I just kind of got lucky with 10 in a row, and then I ran out of ideas at the time. But I'm back. So, here's the question. Is it better to make something bad or not make anything at all? And I think that there is validity to both sides of this argument. I really do. But I do think that it is very much something you need to think about and come to your own conclusions. I'm going to give you my answer, personally, but you still have to come to your own conclusions on this one. And I'll just start off by saying, in my opinion, I think it is significantly better to make something, even if it's going to be bad, even if you know you're not going to be able to do it right, rather than not do it at all. Now, my reasoning and my logic behind that is basically that I would always rather there be more art in the world than not more art. Like, to put it simply, more art the better, in my opinion. Another aspect is experience. You're going to gain experience, you're going to get better, you're going to learn what works, what doesn't work if you're actually doing something, versus if you don't do it at all and you just kind of save it for later, because later may never come. You'll actually get something you can sell, even if it's bad. That's still important, and that's still like a factor here. And I mean, there's downsides too with that. Like, if you make something bad, people are going to tear you apart. They're going to insult the film or whatever you're making. They're going to insult you. You'll, relatively speaking, live forever. And it could be infamous. You know, a lot of people could know you for this terrible, terrible thing that you did. And is it worth dealing with that sort of mental anguish, for the lack of a better word? Is it worth going through that just to get something done, just to get something out there? And that's where I say you kind of have to come to that decision yourself, because I think it's totally valid to say, I can't handle harsh criticism, so I don't want to make something that I know is not going to be good and give people like that fuel for their fires. And that's fine. I get that. Like, it is hard. It is hard sometimes seeing some of the stuff that people write on Twitter, on, review websites, like some of the stuff people say insulting me or insulting my work or insulting my cast, crew. It doesn't feel good. It hurts. Whereas if you don't do anything, you'll never go through that. You'll never go through the negativity. You'll never deal with people insulting you, calling you out, using stuff as evidence to explain why you're terrible. Or don't you? See, here's another reason why I think doing something is better than not doing anything. Because I do feel that, like, at the end of the day, your haters, they're going to find a reason to hate you. Like, no matter, you could do everything they say. You could do everything right. You could make the best thing ever. You could do nothing. No matter what you do, if people are going to hate you, if people are going to insult you, they will still find a reason. Now they're going to be insulting you for not making anything. Now they're going to be insulting you for, like, being a failure, for not being able to do anything with your life. In that sense, I think it really is lose-lose. Like, you're going to be yelled at, you're going to be insulted, you're going to be made fun of, whatever. That's going to happen, like, whether you make something or not. So, from my perspective, making something makes more sense. Like, making something, you're still dealing with the haters, but now you're also rolling the dice on maybe getting something positive, because that's the other part of this. You might think it's going to be bad. Might not be bad. Might turn out better than you thought. You may still think it's bad, but other people think it's good. And that's the unpredictability of the arts, like, as a whole, all of them. At the end of the day, you don't really know. I've made stuff that I thought was going to be, like, well received, and people didn't like it. I've made stuff that I thought was not good, and people loved for some reason. And, you know, God only knows, I've definitely made some big old stinkers. So get out of here. Get out of here! But I'm still glad that I made those stinkers, because at the time, every little bit helps add a little bit of legitimacy to you. It adds more experience under your belt. You get better doing what you need to do, rather than doing nothing with your talent, with your time, with your efforts. I have several movies that I am ashamed of, but as embarrassing as they are, I do think that it's better that I made them and that they exist, rather than if I had done nothing. And, you know, and years later, a couple of those stinkers is stuff that the fans actually wanted to see on, say, Steve Busser, so it helps put more content on that. That's a very anecdotal example, but kind of pushing that in the sense of you don't know what will come of this thing later. Basic Slaughter was a complete stinker. I was a complete failure as a filmmaker, as a writer, as a director, as an actor. I failed at everything on that movie. Still sold some copies, did okay. But what it did set up, in addition to me like learning a lot of really hard lessons about feature filmmaking, is that it's still set up like Everyone Must Die, which is another film that I think is a little, definitely lower on my quality totem pole, but that one actually did a lot better, and more people liked it, and it sold better, and it got distribution. And I don't think I would have been able to make Everyone Must Die if I didn't make Basic Slaughter first. Like, even if I still made VG spoofs or whatever, if I did make Basic Slaughter first, I wouldn't have been able to make Everyone Must Die. And that was another, again, that was a movie that, not very good overall. Definitely came up short, definitely had some problems, but I also still learned a lot of great lessons from that. And then, again, Super Task Force, like, it kept going, and kept going, and kept going. And it's not always a complete upward gauge of you getting better every time. You'll still have some dips or whatever. You know, not everything you make is going to be a winner. And starting with some stuff that you kind of know is not going to be as good, or some stuff that might just be a failure, it may kind of tear off the Band-Aid, in a sense, for you to kind of get used to that up front when the stakes are lower. You know, if my first several movies were all big hits and then I made my first stinker, it probably would have destroyed me. But by starting off bad and getting very slightly less bad, whenever I do have like one that doesn't hit with people, or one that just when I finish it I'm like, that wasn't that good. Whoops. I know that that's not what I am at my core. I have the better ones that I can look at. I know what's going to happen basically. I know the crap that's going to be flung at me. And if crap's going to be flung at you, even if you think your movie's good, even if most people think your movie's good. You know, I got movies that won awards, critical acclaim, made a profit, you know, actually gets bought by a lot of people who then talk about liking the movie, still get called like the worst movies of all time by people online. There's nothing you can do. So, if something is making you not make your movie, that's not financial, or like resources, if it is in your head, if you're like, I don't know if I should do this, it might be bad, who cares? Do it. I want to see your movie, I want to see you make it, even if it's going to be bad, because that's going to be better for you, in my humble opinion. But do what you want. I'm not your dad. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. SteveBuster.com, SilverSpotlightFilms.com. I will see you folks next time.